Are you ready? Fire in the hole! Hi there, my name's TheTrueNev, I'm the only me there is, and welcome back to the long-awaited episode 30 of the Satisfactory Non-Series, where it's finally time to take advantage of everything in Update 6. Okay, so I know it's been about 5 months, and I kind of slept through Update 6, but it was because I was building this, the party cake pyramid thing. Now, in case you didn't know, it's an improved version of a construct I made in my previous playthrough, don't go looking for it, in which I made a messy factory to produce all the items in the game at the time. It was poorly optimized and part of a different era for Satisfactory, but it inspired me to try it again, and so, here we are. As for what it is now, it's more of a general storage and munitions factory, but more on that in a moment. But before we head inside, we have to start at the bottom of the barrel with the base materials. Located on the river between the Rocky Desert, the Spire Coast, and the Northern Forest, I used almost all the nodes in the area. I used all 5 pure iron nodes with Mark III miners overclocked to fill Mark V belts. The same applied to every node I used, including the 2 pure limestone, copper, and quartz nodes, as well as the 1 pure and 4 normal coal nodes, the 2 sulfur nodes over here, and lastly, the 2 deuterium nodes over here. Oh, and the one and only impure uranium node up there. I took them all along massive conveyor buses straight into the pyramid into what would eventually be a logistics area. And because I was missing a few recipes from the MAM at the time, the first buildings I made after getting the general shape of the pyramid going were these assemblers to make the black powder, these refineries to make the smokeless powder, the train stations, and I also set up this small heavy oil residue area. At this point in the planning stage, I had a rough idea of what I wanted to do and how to go about it, including this massive waterfall of conveyor lifts and belts, but I ran into some problems. The amount of materials I needed to get all this to work, Excel spreadsheets are beyond me, meant that the limited space offered by the pyramid was not enough. I originally wanted all of the base production to happen on the first floor, but it wasn't meant to be, so I started thinking vertically. The next thing I built was this platform on the water, but after testing the space out and finding out what I was comfortable with, I soon realized that I just didn't have any for all of the copper ingot refineries I would need. So I thought of branching out and going for, again, a similar design to what I did in the first playthrough. Adjacent buildings. And that's when the final idea, as it eventually became, was born. See, originally, it was just going to be a new general storage hub, but then Update 6 dropped and I knew I wanted to automate all the new munitions. The final product became a mix of the two, with the general storage turned into more of a materials needed to build new factories elsewhere storage. And all that was left after that was actually building the damn thing. So let's finally follow the belts properly and see where they go and what they do. Hang on tight because this is going to be quite the ride. First off, we have the iron ore. All 3,900 of it is brought to the platform below the pyramid where it's transformed into exactly 1,560 ore and alongside 2,400 coal to produce 2,250 steel ingots. Those steel ingots ascend into the pyramid whilst the iron ingots are further transformed into 375 iron plates and 890 wire using the alt recipe, as well as 700 screws. The plates and 750 of those wires go on to produce 112.5 reinforced iron plates, 100 that would go for storage, and the remaining 140 wire would be used for 70 cable. Also on this platform, I took the 1,125 limestone I had to make 750 concrete, 500 of which would be stored away. The screws would eventually be used to make 40 rotors, 20 of which would be used to make 20 motors, and the other 20 which would be stored. I also set up the stator and encased steel beam assemblers here, but to make those I first needed to set up other materials and conveyor lines. Enter the first adjacent building, where the first thing I set up were 90 refineries that would take the 1,560 copper ore and turn it into 3,375 copper ingots. Distributed along 6 Mark V belts, the ingots would go on to make 900 wire, 500 for storage, and 400 to make cable, again for storage. Part of the remaining ingots would go on to become roughly 990 copper sheets. Simultaneously and on the floor below, I took the 960 deuterium ore and belted 780 sulfur I needed to make 384 deuterium ingots, which would in turn be combined with the remaining copper ingots to create a whopping total of 4,680 quickwire, by far the most valuable and used resource in the game. The quickwire alone made me reconsider how to make conveyor buses, and I maxed them out to take them back to the pyramid, putting 8 belts per foundation. The first 8 of a quickwire alone were spread into 6 belts with 540 quickwire each, and 2 with 720 each. with everything I produced in the first adjacent building. Having made almost all the base materials I needed, I got to work on building the interior of the pyramid proper. Starting with the black powder, I took most of the sulfur, the remainder would be going to adjacent building 2, and the pure coal node to make 1,000 of that powder. 600 of it would be used to make an equivalent 600 smokeless powder. Now, the smokeless powder is split off into various directions, but starting with the one on the right, it's used to make, alongside the copper sheets, 1,500 rifle ammo, 500 of which would go to storage. The other 1,000, well, we'll find out in just a moment. Following the conveyor lift waterfall, we head into the second floor, where we have this beautiful chaos awaiting us. To start, I took all 1,560 quartz and turned it into 390 quartz crystals and 1,065 silica. 200 of which would be stored, 90 would be used to make 50 circuit boards alongside the copper sheets, and the other 775 would be used elsewhere. Meanwhile, all my steel ingots poured in to make 100 steel beams strictly for storage, 800 iron rods, 200 would be stored, the other 600 you'll see in just a moment, and the remaining ingots would be used to create roughly 1,100 steel pipes. 100 would be stored. 400 of those pipes would join the remaining 400 black powders to produce 200 nobelisks. 50 for storage, 75 to craft alongside 100 smokeless powder, 25 cluster nobelisks, and the remaining 75 for elsewhere down the line. By this point in time, I was starting to realize how limiting the pyramid actually was. I was short on space, so I improvised and put this extra floor between the first and the second one. Additionally, I hadn't unlocked the cluster nobelisk nor explosive rebar recipes in the MAM yet, so I thought the rebar could be made on assemblers, which is why this space is empty here. Of course, once I did unlock them, I realized my mistake and improvised again by placing these manufacturers here. Originally, the space was to be empty. Heading back down for a moment, we take the 600 iron rods to make exactly 600 iron rebar. 100 for storage, 200 for 100 shatter rebar alongside 150 quartz crystals, 100 for stun rebar alongside 500 quickwire, and 200 to join 200 steel pipes and 200 smokeless powder to make 100 explosive rebar. And all this I had thought out without turning on a single machine, which made logistics tricky. But we're almost done. I needed space for one more high-end material, and it managed to fit perfectly in the third floor. There, I took 1,500 quickwire, 625 silica, and the 50 circuit boards to make 50 high-speed connectors, which I combined alongside the other 1,000 rifle ammo to make 500 homing rifle ammo. Finally, we head into the last building, adjacent building number 2. Almost everything that's needed to be produced has been made, and only a couple of munitions remain. For that, I took the remaining materials and funneled them directly into the building, via the bridge I'm standing on right now, where I'd be making 60 AI limiters from 1,200 quickwire, that's out of the 1,950 quickwire that remained, and 300 copper sheets. The 12.5 reinforced iron plates, the 70 cable, and the 90 quartz crystals are used to make 5 crystal oscillators per minute, which would end up alongside 25 nobelisks to make exactly 25 pulse nobelisks. And as for the remaining 150 silica, 250 sulfur, and 750 quickwire, they were combined with 250 uranium to make 200 encased uranium cells, which would then join the remaining 100 smokeless powder, the remaining 50 nobelisks, and the 60 AI limiters from before to produce the final item, 10 nuke nobelisks per minute. Oh, and before I forget, this is my munition storage, and the train that is used to transport basic building mats is right here, which, you know what, let's dock it. Now regarding the actual munitions, it's worth noting that I tried to make it so that I could at least stock a stack, or at least half a stack of almost all of them per minute, with the exception being the nuke nobelisks, which frankly take so many materials, I thought, hey, 10 at a time is perfectly fine. Once it was all built, then all I needed to do was decorate it, and as you can see I played with signs a lot and even went for the color scheme I used in the original pyramid. Needless to say, this was a massive and time-consuming build that I'm really proud of how it came out because I achieved most of what I wanted. I mean, I did want to produce a few more materials for storage, but I lacked the basic ore. I did it all according to the vision I had, and I got it all to fit neatly. Now, I know it would have been better to show the gradual progress of the build step by step, but truth be told, I've been extra busy in real life with having 2 jobs, so making videos has been difficult. Plus, this thing took like 300 hours to make. That being said, it's the last super big build I'll be making for now. There's one more in mind for later, and instead I'll focus on other things for the non-series, different video ideas I've had. For example, now that I have this general storage and munitions depot, I feel confident enough to fully explore the rest of the map. We still have a lot of ground to cover as far as our objectives go, but before I go, and because it would be cruel to show you all this and not showcase some of the weapons, let's go test one of them out. And answer the age-old question, can 11 nuke novelists kill the giraffe chick thing? Let's find out. I'm especially excited because I haven't seen this animation yet. Are you ready? Fire in the hole! Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, God! That was intense. And fun. But all of that said and done, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Satisfactory Non-Series. As always though, I'm the only me, so you be the only you. See you next time. Oh, and I'm aware Update 7 has dropped, and I'm technically playing on it already, and I will be making a short video about the blueprints soon, but more on that later.